fine.
It's all fine. I'm fine.
Okay. Well, on the original research of the one that we're going to be discussing today, I went from 16 pages in total to 29.
Hurry, crackers.
Hi.
You have fun with that. I'm just here to listen.
I know. But anyway, let's talk banter real quick because I want to give people a heads up in case you hear anything on my side of things. There was a little scurry happening last night, to which I thought it was the snake that magically fucking appeared after we finished recording last week's episode.
Right, your little noodle.
My little noodle, who I was scared shitless of to begin with. And then I found out he wasn't poisonous, and I went, oh, you're just a sweet little noodle. Took him outside, and he came right back in. So he's living in here currently. I have no idea where he's at. But
Hey, I'm good.
last night I was hearing the scurry. I'm like, oh no, Noodle's back. I'm like, where is he? I'm like, and I thought he was like stuck underneath the tarp. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to cut a hole open. I'm gonna have to save my Noodle. I'm gonna have to fucking take him back outside and give him a stern talking to, saying, we don't go underneath the tarp. You're welcome to come in, just don't go underneath the tarp. Couldn't find him. I'm like walking around like I'm a chicken, I'm a duck, like bent over listening to the walls, looking crazy. And it's just this little scurry. And then it dawns on me. I'm hearing. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, that sounds like feet. Why does that sound like feet? Noodle doesn't have feet. Like, unless his tail's like
No.
wagging, like against something, and it's doing something weird. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I'm just gonna leave that be. I don't know what the fuck that is. Fast forward to about 3 a.m. I'm still working out here on this. And I stand up to go do something, and I see what it is that is making the pata 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 sound.
Please
Mind
tell me
you,
it's not a goddamn spider.
mind you, my fucking AC unit was on, and it's loud as balls, and I could hear it over the top of it. It's a fucking huge wolf spider running fast enough on the goddamn tarp that it goes pata 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 pata. I'm like, ah!
Shit. I'm so screwed. Dad better get out there and start cleaning shit up, man. I will lose my absolute shit if I see one of those.
So then I'm like, Noodle, where are you?
Come on, Noodle, we need you to eat it. Oh, God.
So yeah, no, I'm like, this is why we'll have chickens and stuff. I'll just go grab a chicken out of the fucking roost and be like, eat that.
Here, fetch, eat.
Fetch, eat.
Well, I thought the yard cats kind of ate that. Dad was telling me there was a little bit of a flippin' mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom the other day when Gray brought down a
God.
squirrel, fed it to her kittens, and then the carcass was left out there, and Dad saw parts gnawing on it yesterday, and I'm like, oh,
Oh yeah, I'm like,
which explains the little feral beast that I have in here with me right now, because she
yeah.
just goes after everything, wants anything to eat, and it's like, oh my God. No wonder Thax sits out in the man cave enjoying life.
He's like,
He's
I'm not
like,
gonna
I'm
mess
over it.
with that. You have fun.
No,
You
yeah,
wanted her.
I'm good. Yeah. Oh, she's a sweetheart, but goddamn, she's also a kitten, so she has no twofers. So she's like gnawing on everything, and walked up and did a Salem on a piece of cardboard, and I'm like, no, let's not start that crap. So yeah,
Yeah,
she's
considering the
yeah.
Salem chews on everything.
Well, I had this same pity pat thing happening out in the backyard the other day. I was freezing cold, so I went out to thaw out and was talking to your auntie. But about 5 minutes before I did that, I saw something hauling ass across the back porch. I'm like, I think it was a lizard, not 100%. I know it wasn't a rabbit. It was kind of low to the ground, but it could have been a shadow. Who knows? So I'm sitting out there talking to your aunt, and pretty soon I hear this crunch, 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 and I'm like, what the hell is under the orange tree? So I look over there and I hear crunch, crunch, and I'm like, we're talking, we're carrying on a loud conversation, we're not quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, it can't be the bunny. And I looked over and I didn't see a bunny. I'm like, oh, please tell me it's not a goddamn rat. I'm going to have to go get my goddamn gun and shoot this friggin' rat because I don't want it around. About that time, I see a head pop up and I'm like, oh, it's my alligator lizard that lives back out on the mid wall. That little sucker has to be almost a foot long, stands about 2 to 3
Aw.
tall. Oh, he's getting big, but he's just like out there hunting around underneath there looking for
Doing
bugs
little
and
head
critters under
bops
the.
and stuff.
Yeah, he was doing his push-ups. God, I love some of the creatures around here are friggin' awesome.
Well, it's like
Like, oh Lord.
the spider like ran underneath the AC unit last night, so I moved it, and it's like looking at me like, please don't kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. I'm like, all right, let's get
I'm
you
sorry.
outside.
Oh God, no, no, squash. Yeah, but again, if it's a female and it's got babies on the back, then you've
That
got
was
a
my
whole
worry because
mess.
I'm like,
Yeah,
oh
then you got a
god.
whole mess of fuck. Oh my God, I'll never forget your father with that one. It was like all we saw were babies scurry, and it was like, and him screaming like a girl.
Mm-hmm.
I can't blame him. I was in the house behind glass screaming like a girl too. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
like, I'm
God.
just worried that shit's gonna start, and I'm like, any wolf spider I see, I'm like, you just do you, just leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, you should tell her.
Well, he
Oh,
came by and sprayed, but because they have the
well, yeah,
doors open and stuff because they're working,
yeah,
they come in.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not surprised. There's a couple in here. I'm like,
Mm,
I'm not afraid
yeah,
of
that's.
spiders, but at the same time, I'm like, the fucking audible pitter patter of its little footsies
Oh hell no,
definitely made me
no,
go, huh. I'm like, no, 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 no. Well,
no,
honest to
no.
God, it sounded like the snake at first because when we finished recording, I was off for maybe what, like an hour?
Yeah, and all of a sudden, mother, oh God, I got a snake in here. And she's screaming and having a conniption fit on the
Oh,
phone.
I'm
We're
not
like,
screaming.
dude.
I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do right now. What do I do?
And literally, the dad wasn't down there yet. He is there now, so she's got that. But it's like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, dude, your dad's giving you all kinds of suggestions and everything. We're looking up snakes on Arkansas. What is Arkansas snakes? What value? Oh, yeah,
And
I'm
I
like,
remember Google
oh,
has a picture to search.
identification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I took
And
a
about
picture
that
of
time,
it. I'm
I
like, oh, it's safe.
yep.
We're good.
And we sent that one to Matt who lives over there, and he's like, "Oh, that's a little black snake. Don't worry about it. A little ringneck black snake. They're fine." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Cool, okay." So the noodle can stay inside. Just don't want the aggressive bite you and kill you type of snakes in the
That was
house.
the only
That's for
concern
damn
I
sure.
had because I'm like,
Yeah,
snakes don't freak me out either. But
no,
I'm like,
they
I
don't
don't
bother
know what
me.
this is. I'm like, I don't want
Yeah,
to get bit. Nobody else is here. My neighbor is gone. I'm like, okay, I have to really think this through on how we're approaching this.
you did good. You did good. Better than throwing your cat at a wasp.
Yeah, I did that too.
Yeeted poor Salem. Poor cat.
Dude, we were snuggling. She has not snuggled with me since. She's
Can you
been
blame?
so mad at me. Granted, I didn't come back in until 6 a.m. this morning is when I finished. No, actually it was like 8 a.m. But she was snuggled up against me and I heard the bzz, bzz, bzz. And if you know me, the one insect that I absolutely do not fuck with are wasps. I'm terrified of them.
Well, they get
So
your heart pumping.
yeah, that woke me up. Second day on the road that's happened. I'm like, I yeeted the cat and I was in the kitchen before I knew it. I'm like, time to call dad. I'm like, where are you? And he's like, oh, I'm outside with the plumbers. I'm like, get your ass in here. I need you
I
to
need you
kill
now.
this.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, yep. So there's a lot of happenings at Casa Gardner in the Arkansas area,
Oh my goodness.
and horses that come and decide that our
Oh,
back
Jesus.
patio is a stable and shit on it. And Dad's like, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this?" I'm like, "Rinse it off, man. What else can you do?"
Yeah.
Oh
He was
Lord.
so upset. He's like, he shot on my back patio. I didn't like realize that it was like full diarrhea. I was like, oh. I'm like, god
Well,
damn.
and that's what you got to give it to him. He did use correct terminology. He says that some bitch spattered everywhere. Like, good
Yeah, that's
job.
because I he came back and he's like, that splattered everywhere. I'm like, spatter.
But I'm
Batter.
sure it sounded like splatter too. So yeah,
Yeah.
because when it hits, it goes splat.
Well, like I
Yeah.
came out this morning at like 6 a.m. just to stretch my legs and everything because I heard something like fall over on the house side of stuff. I was like, what the fuck is that? I came out and there are the horses. I look at the paint. I'm like, good morning. And he stops a little bit. I'm like, oh, I did not mean to startle you. I did not know you were asleep.
We were just sleeping up here in this nice covered concrete area. It's real pretty. It's
Hmm.
got a great view up here. Now I'm gonna waddle off and go eat.
Well, I
Oh
mean,
Lord.
she let me. Yeah, she was a she. The boys, the little brown one. I can't remember what they're
Yep.
called, but the paint let me pet her.
Bay.
A bay.
Hmm.
And I scratched her jaw and she went, I will follow you until the day I die. So I walked them back over to the street and I was going to take them back down to the sheriff's, just take a walk down there. But they took off into Brian's. I'm like, not my problem anymore.
No. Yeah, and I'm like, they can get in the back. I don't care if they sit back there and eat grass. I have no problem with that. So whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't shit on my fucking patio. Anywho,
Anywho,
we
so before we
we're
get
deviating today.
we're deviating. We had a little bit of an extra banter today, which, whew, I'm gonna have to run through. So hold your questions until the end. So, while we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who still may be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to open old wounds or cause further emotional damage to those involved. We remind you, please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The case discussed on this podcast today may be disturbing to some listeners, and listener discretion is advised. So today we're going on a topic that Mom requested a long time ago, back in the ether of fucking haunting cases, and now we've returned to it in Spattered because she wanted to talk about it again.
Update just in case there's anything new.
I mean, there is. We're not really
Yeah.
going to talk about the more recent case because it doesn't have a lot of press coverage to it, but I will make mention of it when we get there. Today, we are talking about spontaneous human combustion, or SHC. This refers to a person being burnt alive without an apparent external source of ignition. The fire itself seemingly starts within the body of the victim and may have suggested, like throughout history, have a sign from God in its origin.
I just know back in the 70s, there was something that came up at that point in time, and it was, I shouldn't use the word reignited, but it kind of was. The interest in it was. And I thought it was fascinating. It's like, good gracious, how they do that kind of stuff. It's very fascinating to me. So, but I'm kind of a twisted, sick old bitch.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to agree.
I agree. You used to go on Watch Me Rot, okay? You think I don't have that in my brain as a core memory?
Go on there often. It was just once in a while. It was like, well, are they?
Are they? I'm like, God damn, Mom.
Oh,
Uh,
Lord.
Also, for reference, she like had to lean back in her chair and cackle like a fucking witch for a moment.
I didn't want to blow the microphone out.
So, for
Oh.
several centuries, people have debated whether or not humans can simply burst into flames without any form of external ignition source. The first case of spontaneous human combustion dates all the way back to 1614, and the phenomenon gained wide exposure in the 19th century when Charles Dickens used it as a way to kill off one of his characters in a novel called The Bleak House. Now, the use of this method to kill off a character wasn't without scrutiny or criticism. Many critics accused Charles Dickens of legitimizing something that didn't actually exist. To which Dickens himself pointed to research that he'd conducted involving more than 30 historical cases of spontaneous human combustion. So he went, doesn't really exist, my ass. Here's my fucking research.
Proof. I got the proof.
I have the
Good for
proof.
him.
So, are you ready to hear some cases that I have for you today?
That I am. Lay it on me.
Okay. Starting with Polonius Vorstios in
One more time on
1470.
that one. Come on, say it. One more time.
Polonius Vorstios.
Are we sure of that?
I literally have it phonetically spelt out Polonos Vorstios.
All right, good for you.
God
Let's just
damn.
call him Polly.
Poli.
Polly.
So, Poli's case happened in 1470. Poli was a Italian knight, and it was regular for knights in the late 1900s. I'm like, God damn, holy
Man,
shit,
he jumped.
vampire!
He aged well.
No wonder he burned.
No, right? It's a witch.
Oh my god.
Now we've gone from spontaneous human combustion to the witch trials. All right.
My
Anyways.
god. Anyways, so Polonius was a Italian knight, and as a knight in the 1400s, he liked women, wine, and song. So it wouldn't be out of the norm for him to be in a tavern or a bar catering to those wants and needs. So, in his regular fashion, Polonius had decided to relax and kick back with a couple of glasses of wine one evening. Unfortunately, it wasn't as relaxing as he planned.
Not if you burst in flames, it ain't.
It's reported that one night he drank some wine and it reacted to him in a very serious way. Polonius first began to vomit up flames before entirely bursting into fire on the spot in Milan, Italy, as
Holy
his
crackers.
own parents watched and were unable to help him.
That's a spicy wine.
Additionally, no one else who had drank the wine seemed to have this issue, and it left individuals baffled as to what the hell just fucking happened.
Can you imagine them all going, dude, you're drinking it. Stop drinking it. You're going to do the same thing. I feel fine.
I feel fine. But yeah, it's like, it's
I'm
recorded
fine.
that he had 2 ladles, and he was like, yeah, this is good. And then it just, boom, I'm like, oh.
Kind of reminds you, did you watch that, oh God, your Ramenstein Duhas video?
Yeah,
that
I
sent
did.
you today with the dude with the light in
That's
his mouth?
literally what I thought. I'm like, God damn.
Ironic.
So, this account wasn't told or described until 1641 by a Danish physician, Thomas Bartholin, in his book Historium Antiquarium.
Yeah, that's a good one. I want to read that. Let's link that book in the findings.
Antimicarium rariorium. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. So, Historium Antiquarium rariorium. That might be fucking wrong. I'm not really
We're
sure.
gonna go with that.
But we're gonna go with that. Rotator. Here we go. So, this described a strange collection of medical phenomena that were like that was happening back in the old Victorian ages and medieval days.
I kind of want to find out what else is in that book now. You've
I
kind of got
know.
me interested.
I'll
Well,
post it in the
let's do
show
some.
notes in case you all
Let's
want to
do the
take a
show notes.
bat
Well,
out trying
yeah.
to pronounce what the fuck this is.
Katie didn't have this one right, but that being said,
That being said,
I want to know kind of some of the other stuff. It's kind of like the medieval torture shit. I'm ready for that one too.
we'll start
So.
doing your research so we can have some of that coming back up.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh God.
that was such a Keegan face. I'm sorry. He possessed me there for a moment.
Amy, I tasted it. Oh God.
Okay.
All right.
Now, Thomas stated that he first heard the story from a Vorstios descendant. However, does note in his writings that with 200 years of alleged immolation and the written accounts being basically non-existent, it's very likely that the story has been embellished with time and Thomas basically had to deal with that embellishing once he got it himself.
Okay.
So, our next case is that of Jeanne Lemaria Millet. And you're going to hate me because this is all French and I'm just going to butcher shit. So, be ready to correct me.
I'm going to go with Malay at the end, but okay.
It's probably Millet. It's Millet.
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 Very soft tea.
The following instance of spontaneous human combustion occurred in 1725 in an inn called Lion d'Or in Reims, France. Oh, there was no correction.
Rhymes what?
France.
Reams.
Reims?
I'm pretty sure.
I do want to note that depending on what source you go with or what documentary you watch, you're either going to get the name Jeanne the Marie Millet or Nicole Millet from our female victim. However, I presume that the correct name is Jeanne. And I got that from the Purdue article by one Michael R. Linwich, which was written in 2019. So, 63-year-old Jeanne Millet was the wife of the landlord of the Lion d'Or, one 66-year-old Jean Millet. Jeanne was remarked as being the secondary innkeeper and a notorious bad-tempered alcoholic, and she rose from her bed on the night of February 19th of 1725 at around 10 o'clock p.m. to presumably go out and warm her feet by the fire in the kitchen. Jean then awoke sometime later to find that his wife was still absent from their bedroom, and there was a smell of something strange in the air, and he described it as being a vile odor and presumed that the inn was on fire. Jean then proceeded to scream and rouse people from their sleep to get them outside into safety. Jean then crossed the short hall to the kitchen where he found his wife, or at least what was left of her. Jeanne was lying about a foot and a half away from the fire. She'd burned to death, leaving behind only part of her head, a portion of her vertebrae, and a portion of her legs. Everything else appeared to have gone up in a white-hot blaze. Jean quickly called a servant to help him pour water over the body, but at this point, it's far too late. The floor beneath her had been damaged, charred. However, a kneading board and salt container near the body had been completely untouched. And it was later noted how the hearth had died down and the cinders were spread out across the floor. At first look, the case appeared to be obvious to local authorities. Jean, a hardworking innkeeper, and Jeanne, the perpetual drunk who was unable to perform her own work. Jean had hired a pretty girl, a new servant girl named Lorraine, to help him out. And although described as a honest man by people in the surrounding village, there was a suspected affair between the two. So, based off these circumstances, Jean was arrested for the murder of his wife, one Jeanne Lemarie Millet. The verdict was guilty.
That's so sad, poor dude.
However, Jean appealed to a higher court, one that recognized the possibility of spontaneous human combustion. And Jean was declared innocent after the testimony of one Claude Nicolas Lecat. Now, the story of the Millet spontaneous combustion has varied throughout the years, and its telling has been twisted through time like many other historical cases. The most presumed accurate retelling of this instance is believed to be published by the one Claude Nicolas Lecat, a medical doctor who stayed in the Millet's Inn for 4 to 5 months in late 1724 to 1725.
So was he there during the time that this happened?
There are some articles that state that he was, and then there's others that state that he wasn't. For the one that I went through, which was the scholarly article from Michael at Purdue University, it states that he wasn't. He actually left a few days prior to the lady Jeanne's death. So Claude and other friends alike in the medical field at the time examined the remains and concluded that they were greatly resembling that of other victims of spontaneous human combustion, ascribing the death as a visitation of God within the courtroom before laying out his thoughts on the matter, being that one, the fireplace could have never produced the type of heat to burn Jeanne, nor could any flame in the area for that matter to that extent.
And you would figure if the fireplace had actually produced that fire,
There would
everything
be
else would have been
evidence.
burned and charred, and
Hmm.
yeah, exactly.
Not to mention the origin of the fire in Jeanne's case seemed to have originated from the center of her body. Without
Ooh.
Claude's testimony, Jean would have likely been executed for the death of his wife.
Oh, he got lucky.
In addition to this, Claude even brought up another case, one of Countess Cornelia de Brandy, and how possibly habitual drinking may have played a role in Jeanne's incineration.
Ooh, I better back off to wine, evidently.
So we're moving on to Countess Cornelia de Brandy. Nearly 6 years after the passing of Jeanne Millet, and nearly 750 miles away in 1731, in the city of Siena, Italy, one Countess Cornelia de Brandy became another notable and early report of spontaneous human combustion that occurred in the 17th century. So, in the 62nd year of her age, Countess Cornelia de Brandy was regarded as being well as she usually was during the day. However, once night had come, she had began to complain about being heavy and dull, like not feeling quite right.
Yeah, exactly.
Being tired, the Countess was prepared for bed with one of her maids who accompanied her with prayers and other evening tasks before the Countess eventually fell asleep 3 hours later. It's also discussed that during this time of like 3 hours of getting ready for bed, they may have shared some drinks and had some conversation between one another before she eventually went, okay, I'm tired. The alcohol's kicking out. I'm going to bed.
I know that well.
From here, the door was shut and the maid went about her evening chores. The following morning, the maid took notice that her mistress had not awoken at her usual hour and decided to visit the bedchamber. The maid called out to her, and there was no answer. Worried about the Countess's health as she'd been feeling ill the previous night, this maid entered the chamber. Once inside, she saw the corpse of her mistress and its beyond deplorable condition.
Ooh.
4 feet from the bed, there was a heap of ashes. 2 legs. From the foot to the knee, with their stockings still on, were left untouched. Between them was the Countess's head, whose brains, half of them in the back of the cranium, were still remaining. And the whole mandible had been burnt to ashes.
Okay, I would have shit myself if I saw that, but that's me.
Amongst the pile of ashes were 3 blackened fingers.
Good gravy.
Now, the ashes that were left were reported to have taken up a greasy and stinking moisture that would be left in the hand if they were to be taken up or touched.
Ew, gross.
The air in the room was observed to be filled with soot still floating around in it. A small oil lamp on the floor was covered in ash, but was found to have no oil in it. 2 candles in a set of candlestick holders up on the table stood upright. Their cotton wicks were the only things that were left of them, and the wax had vanished.
Oh, wow.
The bed itself received no damage. The blankets and sheets were merely raised on one side as if somebody had gotten out of it or was preparing to go into bed.
Right.
The furniture in the room as a whole was spread over with moist and ash-colored soot, which had managed to penetrate into chests and drawers in the room, and had also
Wow.
gone as far as to foul the linen and clothing inside of those storage containers.
It permeated well. Ew.
Yeah. The soot had also managed to find its way out of the Countess's bedroom into the neighboring kitchen, where it clung to walls and any movables as well as utensils. Within the pantry, a piece of bread had grown black from being covered in that same soot and was
Oh,
actually given to several dogs that watched over the state, and all of them refused to touch it or eat it. They were like, no, fuck that.
can you blame them?
No.
Gross. Gross. I was like, how the hell did that all get moved away and nobody saw it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So within the Countess's bedchambers, their higher portion of the room was overtaken more than the lower part with a greasy, loathsome, yellowish liquid. It was described that it trickled down the walls and windows in the room and left a horrific stink.
Well, I can imagine.
It's also noted that it was found remarkable that the floor of the chamber was so thickly smeared with a gluish moisture that it couldn't be taken off, and the stench began to spread throughout more of the chambers through the estate.
Ew.
Now, there are remarks made by those who were in the room that it was impossible that by an accident the oil lamp may have caused the fire, and there was no room to support any supernatural cause. They actually commented that it was thought to be the cause of something called flash lightning due to the sulfuric and nitrogenous presence in the room.
Wow.
There's also mention on how light from the oil lamp or any other of the candles would not have burned and consumed the body to such a degree, with no signs of blackish tracks on the walls or anything else getting damaged like you would see in a usual fire.
But it could have been the combination of the, not saying that they caused it, but the oil from the lamp and the candle, because candles weren't made with the stuff we use now.
No, they were made
paraffin
with
is
animal tallow.
tallow or beeswax. So yeah,
Mhm.
so that could have all combined and just like that's probably where the ungodly smell and oily and ickiness
Oh
came
yeah, I'm
from.
imagining that's probably where you get that really nasty, like oilish, greasy stuff. Because honestly, throughout most of these cases, like Cornelia de Brandy's case seems to have the most vulgar
Yeah,
grease factor
mixture
to
and
it.
grease and all that stuff. So that's why I'm saying it had to those things had to contribute to it. Ugh, gross. I'm just imagining the oh barbecue. Ugh, gross.
So, going on to our next case, it was around 9 p.m. on July 1st of 1951. In a St. Petersburg apartment, a 67-year-old widow by the name of Mary Reeser, clad in her nightgown, popped 2 sleeping pills and mellowed into her overstuffed easy chair. Dr. Richard Reeser Jr., her only son, kissed her goodbye after their visit and left her alone, windows open to let in the cool breeze, and for her to enjoy the rest of her night and a cigarette before bed. This was the last time that Mary would ever be seen alive again. The landlady, one Patsy Carpenter, recalled how she thought she smelled smoke around 5 a.m. and assumed that it was a overheating water pump in the garage. So she went down, turned it off, and went back to bed. At around 8 a.m., Pansy's doorbell rang, and it was the Western Union with a telegram for Miss Mary Reeser, which disclosed all of her arrangements had been made for her plans to move up north for the summer. She'd been missing friends back in Pennsylvania. In fact, the night before, during her son's visit, she had been too worried about taking the trip back home to even eat dinner.
Mm.
Pansy tried to deliver the telegram the next morning to Mary, and she found that the door to her apartment was too hot to touch. Now worried, Pansy decides that she's going to call emergency services. Firefighters burst into a soot and smoke filled apartment, but all that remained of Mary was a pile of ashes. In fact, the fire department almost missed them when they started looking at the scene.
Wow.
Amid the rubble, police found coiled springs from the chair and part of Mary's backbone. Mary's left foot sat in a pile of rubble while still wearing its black silk slipper. And there were reports at the time that her skull had shrunken to the size of a teacup.
No.
We'll get into that.
What caused that, Katie? Okay.
Firefighters found evidence of extreme heat in the apartment. There were bare candle wicks that stood tall upon their pyres and piles of wax beneath them. Smudges of smoke had stained the top of the walls, and the electrical switches that lined the room had been warped. An electrical clock that sat on a table nearby had stopped working at around 4:20, presumably AM, and when moved and plugged in elsewhere, it continued to work.
Ooh, creepy.
However, lower down on the walls were clean and the electrical switches looked normal. Even a stack of newspapers that sat not far from Mary's chair had been untouched by the fire. Soon, the deemed Cinder Woman mystery made national headlines, making the once sleepy town of St. Petersburg a worldwide news coverage phenomenon. There were hundreds of theories that poured into the St. Petersburg Police Department about what had happened. Some blamed the fabric of the chair cushions, others blamed napalm or phosphorus bombs, and even thermite bombs being used.
It's a little excessive, but
I'm like, God
okay.
damn, she was just a little old lady sitting in her house.
She's a little old lady having a cup of tea and going to bed.
Yeah.
Gonna go traveling the next day.
I'm like, God damn. She wasn't like a
Yeah,
secret
kind of
agent or
harsh.
anything. What the hell?
I was gonna say, where the hell's she get a hold of thermite and napalm? You can't order that shit from Amazon, man.
Exactly. And Amazon don't even
Good
exist
Lord.
right now. Where are you going? The hardware store?
Exactly. I don't even think they'd have it. So yeah.
So there was one individual who wrote in stating, a ball of fire came through the open window and hit her. I seen it happen.
Oh boy.
The chief of police, one J.R. Reichart, decided to reach out to the Federal Bureau of Investigation after there was no clear answer as to what had happened. In a letter, he wrote, Dear Mr. Hoover, this fire is too puzzling for a small town law enforcement to handle. So good
Wow,
on
that's
him for reaching
unheard
out.
of. I was gonna say, yeah. I'm like, we never hear that shit happen.
We never hear about that shit happening. I'm like, good on you for reaching out for
Sure.
help.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a little confused. Let me go to somebody else. Gee, that's a novel concept.
The police sent evidence to the FBI laboratory in DC, including portions of the apartment rug, smoke samples, rubble from the walls and chair, and the FBI came back with an explanation of the incident, stating Mrs. Reeser's own body fat provides fuel for the fire that consumed her. There is no spontaneous human combustion, nor was her death caused by lightning or chemicals. The FBI made further notes that the sedated Mary Reeser sat down in her upholstered chair and had fallen asleep while smoking her cigarette, which had set fire to her nightgown. Even though the chair itself had been fire retardant, it burned too.
Then why didn't anything else burn?
Right? I'm like,
Right?
that doesn't sound quite right. That doesn't
Nice
sound like
try,
that's
FBI.
working,
This
but
is why
thanks.
this is why we don't trust the alphabet boys.
So this is regarded as being like, oh, thanks for the incomplete explanation, because still, what the fuck happened?
Exactly. Nice try.
So, additionally, one researcher disagreed with the findings. One
on him.
Dr. Wilton M. Korgman, a professor of physical anthropology at the University of Pennsylvania, wrote that he investigated more than 30 fire-related deaths in his career at that point, and basically was like, I cannot conceive of such a complete cremation without more burning of the apartment. And when it came to the topic of the skull shrinking, he stated the opposite has always been true. Skulls tend to swell and explode into hundreds of pieces under extreme temperatures.
I was gonna say, yeah, because your brain kind of bubbles up and yeah, exactly.
So it's like, what the hell happened?
What the
I have
hell
no
caused it to
answer
shrink?
as why it shrunk. I really don't.
I'm like, well, what the hell? Did she have one of them little tiny idols from the fucking
Amazon
Trilogy of
Razor?
Terror? No, Trilogy of Terror, little Ooga Ooga dude, when you drop his train, he comes along and stabs you, except for this one, just lights you on fire and shrinks your head.
Yikes.
Right?
Yikes.
No, I can remember seeing, I don't know if it was that, it probably wasn't that one, but back when I was a kid, the National Enquirer, I can remember seeing a chair and then just like a pair of freaking lower legs, like from the knees down, sitting with a pile of ashes. And it's like, they put that on the tabloid. And I went, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, that's where
Yeah, you lived in a decade, and I got a little bit of the end of it. with like
Not a lot.
the detective magazines and stuff where it's like you got actual crime scene photos in
Hell
those
yeah.
magazines. I'm like, oh my God. You don't see that shit nowadays. You got to pay the big
Oh
bucks
no.
for it and get the big homicide
The big book,
book.
the big homicide book.
The big homicide book. $300, man.
Jesus. Yeah, no, that was shit was weird, and that's why I say I thought that was extremely fascinating. And here it happened in the United States in modern times.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got another case in the United States.
Lay it on me.
On the evening of November 7th of 1964, Helen Conway was babysitting two children of her daughter and son-in-law overnight at her home in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. The following morning of November 8th, Helen's granddaughter, Stephanie, delivered a book of matches to her grandmother upon request, and shortly after, a neighbor recalled seeing a odd glow coming from inside the upstairs window of the house before leaving for church. Curious and concerned, she went to investigate the house. The heat was so intense inside that she was unable to go up the stairs, and she called the fire department.
Oof.
When
Hard to pivot.
firefighters searched the smoke-filled room at 8:40 a.m., one of them stuck his hand into something described as greasy, which unfortunately turned out to be the remains of Helen.
Gross. Where'd the babies?
I presume they were outside playing,
Oh, I hope so.
or at least they left and went outside. They're like, damn, grandma's house is hot.
Jesus, lady. I want out some fresh air. It smells like hell in here. Literally, fire and brimstone. Oh,
my
God.
God. All that was left of Helen were her legs from the knee down. Her 2 feet,
That.
is that the one?
I'm thinking so.
Okay.
Was like the old fashioned chair type
Mhm.
of thing. Yes, yes. I'm thinking so.
Her 2 feet blistered and unburnt. 2 blisters broke during the examination of the remains. However, they are wet, but they did not leak fluid, which two examiners made it clear that the 51-year-old Helen was alive when she burned down to the bone. Additionally, her bracelet was still dangling around her radius and ulna. It was left untouched.
How's that shit happen?
It just depends on the material that your bracelet's made out of.
Well, yeah, but if you're the okay, remember you had this question before. What was the temperature to have a cremation of a
We'll get into
body?
that when we talk about theories and discussions. So hold on
Okay.
to that question.
Okay.
So the only major signs of fire damage were that to the chair, which Helen had been seated in during the time of her death. A telephone nearby had begun to melt. A pack of cigarettes on that same table, though, were left untouched. The sheets in the adjoining bedroom were untouched, but the television that sat on the dresser had melted, while a highly flammable doll that was seated next to it was untouched as well.
It's wild.
Upon further investigation, investigators found that Helen was a heavy smoker and had more than a few times been careless with her cigarettes, as there were multiple cigarette burns found on furniture in her bedroom, as well as possible clothes and sheets.
Okay.
One theory suggests that while Helen was smoking, she'd accidentally lit herself on fire. And as the chair she was sitting in caught fire, it broke back with Helen in it, and she fell backwards to be consumed with the flames.
Yeah. I don't think that's how it works, but okay.
Investigators believe that the wick effect was the cause of her death. The fire that consumed Helen was theorized to have burned at 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, beginning and ending in a duration of 6 minutes total.
Fuck, does a fire get revved up that hard and that fast from a fucking cigarette? I don't think so.
No accelerants were used, and her death was originally thought to be a suspected foul play incident due to the rare and intensity of which she burned.
Yeah, sure. We can't figure it out, so therefore it's got to be this.
Apparently, I have a couple in America. Apparently, we're more susceptible to it.
Well, our blood does run hot over here, I guess.
I guess so. So, from 1925 to 1953, one Dr. John Irving Bentley worked as a family physician in Coudersport, Pennsylvania. He'd suffered a hip fracture in 1947, which caused him to be infirmed in his senior years. Dr. Bentley remained in counter sport, where he became friends with many residents that surrounded his home, many of whom he'd served as a physician in the years prior to his retirement. On the evening of December 4th of 1966, the 92-year-old Dr. Bentley had entertained some visitors before they left for the evening around 9 p.m. The following morning of December 5th, Don Gosnell, a meter reader with the North Penn Gas Company, arrived at Dr. Bentley's house on Main Street, and he let himself in as per usual due to Dr. Bentley's immobility.
In that day, you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could walk into somebody's house. They didn't lock their doors.
Don goes to check the meter that's down on the basement of the two-story home. When he notices that there's a blue smoke and strange smell, which he described as something sweet, and like the starting up of a new oil burning system. So he makes his way down to the basement to read the meter, where he found some ash on the floor. Now, he's obviously growing a little bit concerned, and Don set out to look for the good Dr. Bentley. When he made his way upstairs to the bedroom, it was filled with smoke, and inside the bathroom, he discovered the good doctor's remains.
I'm a little confused.
All that was left of Dr. Bentley was his lower half of his right leg, still wearing its slipper, and his walker, which sat on top of a 2.5 by 4 foot hole, which had burned through the floor and allowed his ashes to fall all the way down to the basement.
That's how it got there. I'm going, how the hell did it? Okay. Just gotta wait long enough.
Aside from the burnt hole in the floor, there was little damage to the nearby tub, and the rubber stoppers on the base of his walker were still intact.
Whoa.
Inside the bathtub was Dr. Bentley's robe, and inside a nearby toilet were the remnants of what appeared to have been a water pitcher. It's theorized that Dr. Bentley had possibly set himself on fire in his bedroom with his tobacco pipe and went to the bathroom in an attempt to extinguish the flames, however, fell unconscious before he could do so.
Okay.
It was a reasonable theory, as it's noted that Dr. Bentley was an avid pipe smoker, and his robes did show signs of previous incidences with hot ash. However, his pipe was found sitting neatly on its stand on the bedside table and had not shown any signs of being used anytime recently.
Whoa.
The official cause of death was listed as death by asphyxiation and 90% of burning of the body.
I'm gonna go with he's only got a part of his leg left. I'm thinking that's a little more than 90%.
I want to say like 95%.
Yeah, exactly. Like 90, 95, 97, something like that.
Something like that. Now, you may be wondering, has anyone actually witnessed a case of spontaneous human combustion? Or
Yes, I am.
at least one that was accurately recorded?
Yes, yes, yes.
The answer is yes. Gianni Sathin of London, England, was a 61-year-old, but had the mental capabilities of a 6-year-old child due to brain damage from a forceps delivery at birth.
Oh.
She resided with her 82-year-old father, Jack Sathin, and her brother at the family home in Edmonton, which is a northern suburb of London.
Okay.
On September 15th of 1982, it was a hot and humid day, kind of like what I'm experiencing right now.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
It's freaking warm in here. Gianni was sitting in the kitchen with her father, with the windows open to let in a cool breeze, when Jack noticed a bright light out of the corner of his eye. He turned to ask Gianni if she had seen it as well, when Jack notices his daughter is on fire.
Fuck.
Sitting perfectly still, her hands folded neatly in her lap.
Whoa.
Jack screamed for his son-in-law, Don Carl, and the two rushed Gianni to the sink in an attempt to put her out with water. After which, Don called an ambulance and Gianni was transported to North Middlesex Hospital. Gianni was later transferred to the burn unit at Mount Vernon Hospital, where she unfortunately fell into a coma and died 8 days later.
Oh.
When further questioned as to what exactly happened, Don recalls that the only thing alight at the time in the kitchen was a pilot light on the stove. However, he is adamant about seeing flames coming from Gianni's midriff and mouth, stating she was roaring like a dragon.
Ooh.
Although there were no burn marks on the inside of her mouth when further autopsies were conducted.
Wow.
The medical professionals that took her in the ambulance also made mention that Gianni's clothes were still intact. However, there's other accounts of them charring as black as she did. And during the process of Gianni being in the state, she had tried to pick them off herself. To which
Yeah, can
John
imagine.
told his sister-in-law to stop at that point because she's just going to hurt herself more.
Right.
Theories rose that perhaps Jack, who was a smoker, earlier had emptied his ashes and may have accidentally had an ember stir out in the wind or breeze that was coming from the window, which ignited Gianni's nylon clothing. Gianni's official cause of death was recorded as bronchopneumonia as a result from the burns. Gianni Sathan was the only known case of spontaneous human combustion in which there was a witness present.
Wow. But
No.
nobody believes him either.
Which is unfortunate.
No.
Now, before you ask again, Mom, because I know you're
Okay.
going to, I know it's
I am.
burrowing in the back of your head. Are there any cases of spontaneous human combustion in which a person survives the ordeal?
Yes, please.
Frank Baker, who served in the United States Army in Vietnam, is the only known survivor of the unexplained phenomenon known as spontaneous human combustion. In 1985, Frank was in his home in Vermont when the highly decorated war veteran was preparing to go on a fishing trip with his friend Pete Willie. He'd been sitting on the couch and claims that he spontaneously caught fire. Frank stated later in an episode of Unexplained Files that I had no idea what was taking place on my body. None. We were getting ready to go for a fishing trip. We were sitting on the couch. Everything was great. Pete was sitting next to me. We were having a hell of a time when he spontaneously started to burn. The two leapt to their feet and managed to put the flames out, recalling how it had been an absolutely terrifying experience. Now, there have been around 200 reported cases of spontaneous human combustion in total. And that doesn't account for ones that possibly have been missed through the centuries.
Exactly. She caught the house on fire, did she?
So let's talk a little bit about common characteristics of spontaneous human combustion victims. An article written by L.A. Perry cited a book published in 1823 called Medical Jurisprudence, which stated cases of spontaneous human combustion shared several common themes. 1. Victims were chronic alcoholics. 2. They were usually elderly females. And in a thesis presented in 2000 from a student at the University of Knoxville, Tennessee, in a normal fire-related death category, 65% of victims are usually male, while the remaining 35% are female. In spontaneous human combustion-related deaths, 77% of victims are female, while the other 33% are male.
I'm going to blame it on the hot flashes.
The age in which is pretty well split between being over and under 60 years old. However, when I was looking at some of that data, it might have been more likely to push it down a couple years because it's not happening in the younger years. It's usually 50s and up. So
oh, goody.
Personally, in my opinion, I think that should have been lowered, but it's not my study. It's not my thesis. So
yeah, I was going to say, but look what I get to look forward to.
So 3 is that the body had burned spontaneously, but some lit substance had also come into contact with the body, or presumably come in contact with the body. 4, hands and feet usually fell off. 5, the fire caused little damage to many other combustible items that were in contact with the body.
That's what gets me.
6, the combustion of the body has left a residue of greasy ashes and a very offensive odor, which I can only imagine.
I was going to
because
say,
burns,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I was going to say, when is anything burning a non-offensive odor other
Hmm.
than a candle or, something lovely smelling. But oh,
The human body is composed mostly of water, and its only flammable properties, presumably, are that of fatty tissues and methane gases. So, the possibility of spontaneous human combustion seems remote in nature. So, we can all take an easy breath, as the likelihood of this happening to you is low to impossible.
I would like to know if those folks were on the heavy side
They were.
and what kind of diets that
I don't know
might
their
have.
diets, but I know that some of them were on the heavier side. And it
Yeah,
was pointed as being a possible characteristic too. However,
yeah,
other ones, not so much. Like Helen, from what I saw in pictures, she wasn't like super heavy set. Like most of these people are like 170, which, mind you, that's heavy in like the 60s and like prior.
oh yeah,
But
yeah,
nowadays we have people that are like 200 plus pounds. So
yeah, yeah,
I don't think that
exactly.
plays a huge role anymore.
Hmm.
Typically, deceased victims are found close to a fire source, and evidence suggests that many of them may have accidentally set themselves on fire while either smoking or attempting to light a flame. However, it's important to note that the usual cremation process in a controlled environment varies between 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the size and age of the individual, as well as the stored heat within the cremation chamber.
Exactly.
The process of cremation is essentially the conversion of solid to gas. Since the body contains about 65 to 85% water by weight, this is accomplished by heating the body to high temperatures that facilitate the combustion process. Laws of required temperatures vary from state to state, but the cremation process usually occurs between 1,400 to 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit or 760 to 871 degrees Celsius. So, mind you, this is a controlled environment, and cremation leaves behind, in a sense, ashes, but it's really skeletal remains that undergo hydrolysis to finish breaking them down. So, in Layton terms, they're not completely ash. And if you do have remains in ashes, you will see fragments of bones still there.
Yep.
As you can theorize, there is much more heat than a simple candle, match, or cigarette is capable of creating. Most believers
Exactly.
in the phenomenon point to how the temperature would have to reach roughly 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit in order for the body to be reduced to complete ashes. Additionally, most furniture and nearby items do not burn with the victims, leaving this anomaly to baffle scientists and amateur paranormal investigators alike for years. So, shifting into some theories, real quick.
All right, lay them on me.
Supernatural and divine interventions have emerged throughout the years with the claims of aliens, UFOs, poltergeists to be responsible for some of these unusual deaths, or to
And the hand
simply
of God.
that the victim has suffered from the wrath of God, as you stated.
Yeah.
There was a
Yep.
case that was discussed by Ashley Flowers on the Supernatural podcast from Parcast that a younger set of twins had died of spontaneous human combustion, and it was the work of witchcraft.
Ugh, always blame the witches.
I'm like, God damn it, why are we always going after us? What we doing? So I found that one a little bit interesting if you want to hear more about that story, because I couldn't actually find the article that she or Parcast may have found it from. Go listen to their coverage on spontaneous human combustion, because it was interesting to me. The next theory is pyrotrons. Larry E. Arnold went into the field of particle physics to try to describe and explain spontaneous human combustion, stating that a pyrotron, which is considered to be theoretically a inconceivably tiny energy unit, like smaller than gamma rays, that this pyrotron could burn up whatever it impacts.
Why the hell didn't Sheldon check this stuff out?
Further pushing the idea that this unit of energy could be triggered under extreme stress and set a human ablaze.
Oh, good. One more thing to worry about.
Theoretically, this would release enough energy to disintegrate a human body in a split second or less, which
Wow.
makes the most obvious argument against this theory being why spontaneous human combustion's a thing, basically, because there still remains left,
Yeah.
as well as the time frame usually being around 6 minutes to burn in some cases. So it's not
That's
instantaneous, but it's still fast. Don't get me wrong, but it's not
that is
instantaneous.
extremely, yeah, that's extremely fast. What the hell?
Additionally, this theory would make it equal susceptibility to all individuals, which there isn't.
Yeah.
So, this theory itself has been disproven throughout the years.
Darn.
The next one is alcohol saturation. This is the theory that most victims have a high blood alcohol content, which leads to a higher flammability of the individual. This theory was born primarily during the Victorian era due to physicians and writers believing spontaneous human combustion was caused by alcoholism. Electricity/magnetism. This is a theory that electricity or magnetism is responsible, posing the source that included irregular electrical magnetical currents, as well as ball lightning, buildups of static electricity, and short circuiting electromagnetical fields in the human body. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts to be disproven or proven on that one.
Right.
However, I did want to pause and talk about ball lightning real quick, as it is a rare and unexplained phenomenon of luminescent spherical objects that can vary in size from a pea to several meters in diameter, and it is considered to be deadly and fucking scary as all hell.
There was a tree in front of my grandparents' yard, big old oak tree, that was hit by lightning. And my grandfather swore, and we saw the proof of it too, but he swore he saw a blue orb come through the front of the house, go into the wall that was behind him, and basically disappeared because he wasn't expecting to get up and follow it. But we could see a small trace in the front of the house, and then it got lighter as it hit that next wall. You could still see a little bit of a ring, and then we couldn't find any other evidence of it. But yeah, he swore there was a ball of lightning came off that tree and went into the house. So it's there.
It's there. It's a possibility.
Yeah, I'm like, I saw the evidence, so yeah, I believe it.
So, internal chemical reactions is our next theory. This is the theory that within our body, gases, bacterias, and or other chemical reactions take place in a way that they shouldn't, which results in ignition
Exactly.
of the body from the internal source.
Wow.
However, this is quickly debunked with the realization that not much in us is that flammable, and if something were to cause a fire, it's most likely methane gases. To which, if that's the case, why aren't more cows spontaneously combusting?
That's why I was over here going. If you tip them, they'd blow up like bombs.
To which I'm going to pause real quick because I know you're going to ask.
Go for it.
Do other animals experience spontaneous human combustion or spontaneous combustion? Yes, it does happen.
I was going to say, it does happen, yes.
Yeah, there was actually a documented case of a lion who apparently spontaneously combusted, but it was done post-mortem.
Ooh.
Which, I mean, looking back on other historical cases of post-mortem, like spontaneous combustion, we can even look at King Tut, for example, because in his burial chamber, his linen and the oil that they put on the linen was exposed just to enough sunlight that he lit a flame. And that's why that's why the body was burned when they brought it out.
Oh, wow. Did not know.
Yeah.
Shit you learn on a new daily basis. One for Katie.
Now, the last theory that I have, and probably the most logical theory when discussing spontaneous human combustion, is the Wick effect.
Lay it on me.
All right. There are considered to be three major combustible constituents in the human body. Tissues such as skin and viscera, while not the best fuels for a fire, can still and will burn, especially if you're dehydrated. Bone, which can add fuel to the fire by contributing marrow and tissue, though it's not readily consumable. That's why it remains after cremation processes, usually.
Right. Right.
And then there's body fat, which is the best source of fuel in the body for a fire.
Hmm.
The wick effect explains spontaneous human combustion as our bodies being compared to a burning candle. A candle
Okay.
itself is composed of a wick on the inside and surrounded by wax or towel or other flammable fatty tissues on the outside.
Okay.
When ignited, the fatty wax keeps the fire burning by providing it a fuel source. In the human body, fat acts as the flammable substance, while the victim's hair, clothing, or other possible things such as bone can be the wick. Now, the wick effect can be started with an outside source of fire coming into contact with lipids or other fatty tissues on the skin, such as a cigarette that a person is smoking, and it sets their clothes on fire first, which then proceeds to blister and split the skin open, releasing subcutaneous fat in some areas or organs, which in turn is absorbed back into the clothing, creating a burning wick effect. The burning will continue for as long as the fuel is available to the fire to feed on, which can also describe how victims' bodies are destroyed in the process, but their surroundings are barely touched because they're just fueling off of that. However, I have to note that if this is the cause as to spontaneous human combustion or the case of it, why is the fire stopping after the body's gone? Considering when you leave candles unattended in houses, they start fires, and the flame
Exactly.
is
And
not solely contained to its wick.
well, and that's my thought too. It's like, okay, you're sitting in your chair, you have all these uh, basically prescriptions for what could be spontaneous human combustion. You're sitting in a damn chair that's flammable, even if it's flame
Mm-hmm.
retardant, it's flammable. There's stuff around you that is flammable because nobody sits in the middle of the goddamn room without anything near them. Why aren't the other items in the room? Why isn't the whole damn house going up?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it sounds like it's something that burns human components but doesn't touch anything else. And
But
the
it
only
burns hot
reason
enough that it can affect things that are like meltable.
exactly,
Not so
yeah,
much
and
flammable,
clothing
but have a melting point.
meltable exactly. But you can understand the clothing possibly going, but they even had some that the clothes were still left too.
Mm-hmm.
So what the hell burns a human at what is it 1700 degrees but doesn't touch anything else? You would figure also flame going up, roof, ceiling, shit around you above you should be on fire also.
Mm-hmm. Additionally,
What
with
the
the wick
hell?
effect, my other thought process that I had while I was writing this up was when we burn a candle, most candles take some time. It's not an
Ah,
instantaneous process of which you light the candle and suddenly it's like, I smell the rainforest in my kitchen. No, it's
yeah.
not like that. And like it takes time. Some candles take hours to burn. You have enough of a fuel source. If it's just continuously like wicking and lighting, it should not be an instantaneous full engulfing of
I
its
I can
source.
see the yeah, I was gonna say I can see the relevance with the alcohol.
Hmm.
However, is that enough to cause this?
Additionally, with alcohol, you start transferring, as soon as it hits your stomach, you start
It
transferring that
starts
into alcohol dehydrogenase.
right.
So
Well, I'm sitting here going,
I'm on the side of ball lightning. I really am.
yeah, either that or just shit fucking happens.
Because in most of these cases, there has been a window left open.
Ooh,
I don't know if you noticed that. Cornelia DeBrandy, I may have not written it down, but she did have her window open,
the
and it's
window
theorized
open.
that she was
Interesting.
crossing over to close it because it had gotten too cold.
Well, and considering the ball of lightning that came through her house did not set anything on fire in the
Mm-hmm.
house. It did leave the scorch marks, but that was it. And it was, like I said, it was high enough. My grandparents were ahead of their time and had like 10-foot ceilings.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was high enough up that, yeah, it took a little bit to get up there. And literally it took, I think we ended up having to repaint it because we couldn't get it to clean off. I can't remember. I was pretty young. But that makes more sense
Yeah.
than their cigarettes or pipes or shit like that doing it.
Additionally, the wick theory does not explain how victims seem to remain motionless during their combustion.
Exactly. You would think they'd be going, "Holy shit, I'm on fire!" I don't
Quite
care
frankly,
how fucking
I've been
drunk
lit
you
on
are.
fire before.
I-
And it was not a fun process, mainly because my brother
No.
like threw me down on the ground. He's like, "Stop, drop, and roll." I'm like, "What is happening? Why does my back hurt?" Don't play with fireworks. You're not on Jackass, okay? You won't, you don't match up. You're not built that way.
Neil was such a good inspiration for you
Oh,
kids.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, that's the other thing. It's like there's no chaos involved with this, and knowing unless the person's already dead prior to, but you found that she was alive when she burned.
Mhm.
So what the actual hell? There goes that theory too.
Oh, absolutely.
Why are they, other than the possibility of it starting here,
The origin has always considered to be the chest.
chest and the torso? So I'm sorry, I have indigestion. My ass is writhing in pain. I can't imagine being on fire from the inside out. I'm sitting here going, I'm gonna have to start. I like my wine. I'm getting of the age. I have hot flashes. Some of them are pretty brutal.
Don't you
I'm just waiting
spontaneously
to go out
combust
the
on me.
smoke.
But if you're gonna like, if
I
you think
know,
it's gonna
right?
happen, go outside. Go outside,
Yeah,
please.
exactly.
I don't want to
Well,
clean it up.
but there's no risk of setting the rest of the house on fire because it's just
No,
happening.
but
me.
I don't want to clean up the greasiness, okay? Inside the
gross.
house. Please, dear
No,
God,
at this
go
point, we just burn
outside.
the fucking house down. Just burn the house down.
No,
It
we'll
was just
we'll
a
start
total
fresh.
loss.
It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good. Let's just light it up. But yeah, think about that. It's like I would, God, I've like touched myself with a frying pan and yikes type of thing.
Oh, I did a stupid
can't-
last night while I was doing this. I grabbed my coals with my tongs. And then I did a Keeg and I'm like, I wonder how hot these are. And I went to So I
Dumbass.
got some lines on my fingers.
I always said she's book smart but street fucking stupid sometimes.
I was
She
like, I
really
waved them
is.
around in the air a little bit. I'm like, wonder if they're still hot. And I like touched them. I went, yeah, they're still hot.
God, Kate. Oh Lord. Anywho, yeah,
Anywho.
there's a lot of questions out there that none of this
Mhm.
answers, but it's still fucking fascinating.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a fascinating topic in itself. And honest to God, there are so many cases out there. And granted, only a couple of them have that strong coverage. But you can literally go looking for just about anything in consideration to spontaneous human combustion. And there are people out there that have used this to try to get some type of money back on claims. And I won't fully go into that story, but you can find it online if you go look for it.
Jesus. People will try anything.
Hmm.
I just, like I said, I can just remember standing in the grocery aisle with my mom and reading the National Enquirer. And the friggin' picture on the front page is just this chair with a set of legs down below from like not even really the knees. It was basically upper calves down to her little shoes. And I'm going, oh, that's gnarly. Mom, can we buy this? I want to read this.
Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.